Students, welcome back to another lesson in Brooksycalisthenics Calisthenics. Today's lesson, unilateral training. So, unilateral training, style of working out. It can lead to many benefits, such as having more explosive power, having greater range of motion, and more versatility. You see, when you work out, in normal exercises, you're using both appendages. But unilateral training is when you just use one appendage instead of both for a workout, where you train in isolation. So this is much more common with weights because you can control which hand you're holding the weight in. But for calisthenics, it is simply doing the same exercise but using one part of the body. So when you do one-arm push-ups or one-arm pull-ups, that is an example of a unilateral exercise. Now, a lot of people do it because they have an injury of one side of the body, which requires them to sort of use just one appendage, and so stick to that. But it can actually be used even without an injury. So it does not have to be just for the weak. Now, what I say this. Well, a lot of people ask me, how do you get explosive power? And this is how. It's because, as you can imagine, there's a much greater difference on training one appendage at a time instead of both. You're going to isolate the gains on one arm instead of both. First, let's break down when you do any workout. Let's take a push-up, for example. When you're using a push-up is what? It is a chest exercise, which means you're using not just your arms, it's working your chest, and your legs are also engaged too. You also have to have your body in the right position, right? Which means that when you do a push-up, you're not just using both your arms, you're using a lot more. So if you take away one appendage, most people might think you're using half your power. You're not. You're actually only using 1/3. It is much less. If something is greater than the sum of its parts, then that means that your body together is 100%. If you take away half, you're not just using half your body. It's not just the arm that's making the push-up go. You're obviously using both your legs. And of course, the form when you do a one-arm push-up is much different. But what I'm saying is to take out 1/4 of your appendages when doing any exercise. Like you might think this is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. But the interesting part is that it now becomes an arm exercise. Because of the positioning you're doing it, it is not a one-to-one change. Or, I don't know if you've seen, there's something called stacked push-ups, where you just have one leg off the floor while you're doing regular push-ups. That's much harder. And you can feel it, it's much harder. Same thing with a one-arm plank. So, that's how you get unilateral training. And this is the key, like I said, to building explosive power. Because, simply put, I'm sure you can imagine, is that if you are using just one appendage instead of the rest of your body, you're taking a lot of stress off of your chest, but not quite your core. Your core will stay engaged in any workout you do because it is literally the center of your body. So, you're going to have greater gains. So instead of each is a half, so half your body plus half equals 100% gains. When you do just a unilateral training for your left arm, you're not getting double the gains, you're more than doubling it. Because it is exponential, if that makes sense, if you can sort of imagine it. The gains will be much, much greater. Okay? So, we're going to go over some workouts. Now, for legs, this is the entire reason I brought this up. Because legs have the greatest ROI when it comes to unilateral training. Arms are cool and all, and we'll get to that, but legs are the best. And this is what I'm talking about getting explosive power. Because the thing about your legs is that your legs, you walk on them all day. And of course, most people do this. But they don't realize that, while leg day is hard, it's only hard because you don't train them that often. You can really turn your legs into a powerhouse. Not only for kicking, but running, and more specifically, jumping. That is how I gained such explosive power in my kicks and leg strength when it comes to jumping. I can jump really high on just one leg because the training I've done. The pistol squats are very hard, but for me, I don't dread leg day because doing this in a way is much more fun, and this is something that we calisthenics athletes have over the bodybuilders who just use regular free weights. They hate leg day, they hate doing the push machine, they hate doing squats. It's terrible. But for calisthenics, it can be really fun, and also, like I said, it's very progressive in terms of your development. The pistol squat is not just a strength skill, it's a balance skill. It is both in general, but it's more so balance and strength. Now that being said, doing the pistol squat is going to really boost your leg gains. And after doing it for about a year, or even just 6 months, you're going to see a massive improvement in your quads and your calves around here. So your whole leg is going to be a monster. And if you ask me, I would do pistol squats for the rest of my life. Pistol squats they're just great because they're not only good, they're not only effective, but the gains that you get back from doing pistol squats are phenomenal. So, pistol squat should actually be number 2 because we're going to start with split squats, which is you're starting out doing the one-legged squat, but you eventually build up to the pistol squat without having to assist them. Now you can do pistol squats assisted, but you should be able to do them unassisted and while keeping your heel flat on the ground. When you start off, you're going to have one leg out, and then you're probably going to end up going up on your toes, but you really want to try and keep that back heel on the ground. So those are legs, and this is going to give you, like I said, insane power, explosive power to be specific. The one-arm push-up. The one-arm push-up is going to be done by all. It is not exactly what you think. So you're not going to take one hand and put it behind your back in the same position. Again, like I said at this point, regular push-ups hit your chest, but your arm is in a different position. Your arms are what's making your chest get hit. So what you're actually going to do is take one arm behind your back, spread both legs, and put your hand actually in the middle, because this is more of a balance skill. So you notice that pistol squat and one-arm push-ups, you're going to need more balance than that. Eventually it's possible for some people to do an actual one-arm push-up, but we're going to start with this right here. So one-arm push-ups do that. One-arm pull-ups are way harder. If you do one-arm push-up, that does not automatically mean you can do one-arm pull-up. Because, again, there's more technique involved in a one-arm pull-up than a one-arm push-up. This growth is not exponential. These are 2 different exercises that need to be trained. Lastly is one-arm plank. Now, one-arm plank I don't really see talked about that often on YouTube, because planks, again, they turn the abs. But one-arm planks actually will work your abs and your arm at the same time. And again, it's going to build you up that arm endurance. By staying in an isometric pose, then you're actually kind of training yourself to do the one-arm push-up. A really good way to get good at one-arm push-ups is you can always start with archer push-ups. You can start with wide push-ups or archer push-ups. Start with that, because archer push-ups is sort of introducing you to, they're like assisted one-arm push-ups, where you lean to the side, you look like an archer when you're doing it. That's the thing. And you can do the same thing with pull-ups, where you're sort of taking some of the stress off one hand and putting it more in the other. So like I said, you're doubling it. Or not only doubling it, you're almost tripling it because of the sort of technique that's involved in doing the workout. So this is going to be unilateral training, and this is going to help you build the explosive power you've been looking for, specifically in areas of your body such as legs and arms, because those are your appendages that you train together. But when you start to separate them and train them individually, they're going to get much stronger, and you're going to see insane gains. All right. Till next time. Stay fly.